Consider this a follow-up to the Mick Wallace video, or aka the Wurzel Gummidge of international politics. Um, I said in the description video below, I could not make my mind up whether Mick Wallace was lying by omission or just so ignorant he just had no idea what was going on and was just saying stuff just because, his mouth was running away from him at that point. And unfortunately, he just could not stop it. Having now seen this new quote, and more importantly, now being repeated ad nauseum by what I would say is the anti-war left, who are absolutely wrong when it comes to Ukraine. And I will say this now, I will debate any of these anti-war lefties who are saying that, this is somehow NATO's fault, etc., or somehow this entire war is the fault of Boris Johnson, because, oh boy, that's one crazy conspiracy theory I would like to take down at some point. Yeah. Oh, trust me, they are out there. They are out there, my friends. But what are we going to be talking about today? Well, I feel it is my duty to go out and do this video, that this is not only just good, but it is a public service announcement. And if you see anyone else misquoting David, let me say this hopefully right, David Arahamiya, I hope I've said that right, probably not, but he is the sort of the party member, he's sort of the party chair of Zelensky's party. So he is being, what I would say, horribly misquoted on purpose, and we'll show you why in a minute, why it's on purpose. So if you do see anyone misquoting this guy or using this, shall we say, bits of, or shall we say, cherry picking these comments, which we'll show in a bit, out of context, please do point them towards this video so I can just go, stop lying, you stupid idiot. Because at this point, to be honest, if you still, after watching this video, still want to insist this, then you are at this point lying by omission just so that you can use stuff to try and prove your point. And that is bad. That is incredibly bad from a, quote, movement that is meant to care so much about peace, justice, and telling the truth. Turns out the biggest liars in this conflict are, ironically, a lot of the anti-war left on this point. And like I say, I would be very happy to debate any of you guys on this. Hey, get in contact. We'll sort something out, I'm sure. So, with that said, as always, thank you very much to everyone who does help and support the channel. Like I say, if you do click on the like, the share button, leave a comment down below, both, positive and or negative, because I'm sure you guys would love to leave me a negative one. And of course, as always, there is the Patreon page, the one after today's link called Buy Me Coffee, where you can buy me coffee. There is the YouTube thank you button. And of course, as always, there is the Pony Club down below as well. So, let's go over to this. This was covered in the Kyiv Post. This is like the official Ukraine, newspaper. So this is where it was covered. This is where the initial interview comes from. You can see it up here. Russia offered to end the war in 2022 if Ukraine scrapped its NATO ambitions, Zelensky party chief. Now, here's the thing. This is what I'm guessing you a lot of the anti-war thing, saying, oh my God, they could have ended the war. They could have ended the war. They could have had peace. And I will say this to you now, peace at what cost? Because there was, as we said in the initial Mick Wallace video, there was more Russia was pushing for. Not just to end its NATO um, potential membership, as we will find out here from Zelensky's very own party chief in a moment. So let's see what he had to say. David Arahamiya, the leader of the President's Servant of the People Party and head of the Ukrainian delegation at last year's talks with Russia, has revealed that Russia proposed ending the war in spring of 2022 on the condition that Ukraine abandoned its NATO aspirations and adopted a neutral stance. So, okay, this is the thing you guys are talking about. So, why didn't Ukraine take this? Well, here's the thing. You guys misquote it. You horribly misquote it. You do not then read further into this. And this is what we are going to read further into you. So, here's the thing, guys. If you are part of this movement and you say, oh my God, Ukraine could have ended the war, but they didn't, read further on and we'll find out why. So, he said, they really hoped almost to the last that they would put the squeeze on us to sign such an agreement so that we would take neutrality. So rather than go and negotiate, Russia was forcefully using its military might to force Ukraine into a neutral position, to force them out of joining NATO. And they did this through, as you can say here from his own quote, we're doing it through force of arms. That is not peaceful, guys. But he continues. It was the biggest thing for them, Arahamiya said in his interview with Ukrainian journalist Natalia Morkazevu, saying that they were ready to end the war if we took, as Finland once did, neutrality and made commitments that we would not join NATO. This was the key point, he added. So, why on earth would they now be forced, or should be forced, into this type of position? And he goes on to explain this even further. Speaking further and explaining why Kiev refused the proposal, Arahamiya said that this would require first a constitutional change, given that Ukraine's constitution states that it intends to become a NATO member. Additionally, he also emphasized the lack of trust in the Russian position. So Ukraine did not trust Russia in this regard. And he said, there is no and there was no trust in the Russians that they would do it, and that this would only be done if there were security guarantees. Arahamiya clarified that signing such an agreement without guarantees would have left the Ukraine vulnerable to a second incursion, saying that they would have come in more prepared because when they came in fact, unprepared for such resistance, Arahamiya said. So think about what he is saying here. He said, and this isn't by the way, this isn't new. A new tactic for Russia to do. Russia does this all the time. It tries and sues for peace, tries to use ceasefire talks while it prepares its new military counter offensives. What would have happened would have been a 3 or 4 year stopgap if they had given in to your peace. What you would have got would be 5 years down the line, a far, far more prepared Russian invasion, because the first time when they came in, they were not prepared for such stiff resistance. And he says it himself. They would have been back. They would have come back, and they would have come back more prepared for the resistance. And I will say this now, once again, you guys show that you do not really care about peace. You do not care about peace. You do not care about anything like that. You just like the word peace, but you do nothing to think about the hard work that must be done, sometimes through blood, sweat, and tears, to be able to achieve peace. So please don't misquote this guy anymore, because he's even said it. If we had signed it, they would have been back, more prepared and more deadly than ever. The other thing that they do point out as well in this interview is, um, where is it? So yes, yeah, here it is. So these peace talks between Russia and Ukraine took place during the early stages of the full-scale war, while negations were held, of course, in Belarus and Turkey. The Ukrainian Prada now reported at the stage that the Russian side expressed a readiness for a meeting between Zelensky and Putin. But the discussions were interrupted after Russian troops withdrew from Kiev, revealing the extent of the crimes committed, and committed notably, of course, the Bucha massacre. So while your quote country was preparing for peace and saying, "Oh, we're gonna end this war, guys," their Russian troops were committing one of the worst war crimes we have seen in this war in Bucha. Do not even dare talk about peace if you still think Ukraine should have accepted this peace deal, because they should have not. Because even the guy said it, who you are all horribly misquoting, has said it there. We've just read it ourselves. They would have been back. They were not prepared the first time. They were hoping that it would be a walkover, just as it had sort of been seen, sort of in 2014 to take Crimea. Um, and now, next time, they will be back, but more prepared. It would have been a peace on a 5-year time limit. And meanwhile, of course, it wouldn't be NATO. It might not be prepared as it maybe would be if they genuinely believed Russia that they were going to take that seriously. But of course, they said, yeah, we can't trust you. Just remember, in the lead up to this war, Russia was saying, we're not going to invade Ukraine. We're not going to invade Ukraine. This is all just, American propaganda. This is just ridiculous. It's all silly. But no, once again, this just goes to show you how ludicrous you guys are on this topic and on this subject. That you really don't care about peace, real peace. You like the word peace, you like saying it, you like all the flowers around it, but when it comes to the actual getting peace, working towards peace, once again, you show you are not prepared to put in the blood, sweat, and tears that so many people throughout the centuries and decades have really put in to help build peace in our time. So, as always, thank you very much for watching. And of course, as always, we'll see you all next time.